Hello everybody, so today we are doing 1-4 graphing functions. So I can graph functions. Okay, so looking down below, what is the name for each of these parent functions? This one's a U, so I would suggest that you keep that paper that we did yesterday and just always have that there so you're ready to use it. So this first one is what? It's a quadratic. Okay. This next one, it's an L shape, so what would that be? Exponential. The next one is an S-shaped, so that means that it is, that's right, cubic. The next one, what do you think that one is? Well, this one's pretty simple. It's linear. We already knew that one. And then the next one is an A-shaped, so thinking about it, which word starts with A? Absolute value. And then the last one starts at a random spot. It doesn't go off on the left side. So what does that mean? It is square root. Perfect. Okay, so now we are going to figure out how to actually graph these out. So looking at this, just like before, remember where we did input, output, and then the function rule? This is the same thing. So your input is x, my output I haven't figured out yet. My function rule is this equation that's right here. So I'm going to put I have -2 parenthesis. Instead of x, I'm going to put in that -2 plus 1. So -2 times -2 is 4 plus 1, which is 5. So that tells me I'm going to put a dot at -2 comma 5. The next one, again, we have -2 parenthesis. What am I going to plug in this time? -1 plus 1. -2 times -1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have a dot at -1 comma 3. Next one, -2 comma, or parenthesis 0 plus 1. So that's 0 plus 1. So y is 1. So we have a dot at 0 comma 1. Go ahead and try the next one. Okay, so when we plugged in 1, we should have gotten our y to be -1. So we have a point at 1 comma -1. And then our very last one, we have -2. We're going to plug in 2 plus 1. So that is -4 plus 1, which is -3. So we have a dot at 2 comma -3. Now we are going to graph each of these points that are off on the left on the graph. So we have a dot at -2, 5. So I have a dot right there. I have a dot at -1, 3. I have a dot at 0, 1. I have a dot at 1, -1. And I have a dot at 2, -3. We're going to connect all of those dots. Okay, so it should look like that. What kind of graph is this? What's the name of the function? It is linear. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this next one together. So our function, we have parenthesis -2 squared plus 1. So -2 times -2 is +4 plus 1 is 5. So that tells me I have a dot at -2 comma 5. Again, -1 squared plus 1. That's the same thing as saying 1 plus 1. So that is 2. So I have a dot at -1 comma 2. 0 squared plus 1. That's 0 plus 1. So y is 1. So I have a dot at 0 comma 1. 1 squared plus 1. That's 1 plus 1. So that is 2. So I have a dot at 1 comma 2. And the last one, 2 squared plus 1 equals 4 plus 1, which is 5. So that gives me 2 comma 5. Okay, so now we are just going to graph these points. So we're going over to -2. We're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a dot at -1, 2, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, +5. So I'm going to draw a line that connects all of those. What do you think the name of this parent graph is? It is quadratic. Perfect. Okay. The next one, again, absolute value of -2 plus 1. What does absolute value do? So it tells us that whatever number's inside the absolute value is automatically positive. So I have 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have -2 comma 3. The next one, absolute value of -1 plus 1, which is just 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have one at -1 comma 2. The next one, what is the absolute value of 0? It's just 0. So 0 plus 1. So that's 1. So I have a dot at 0 comma 1. Absolute value of 1 plus 1. That's 1 plus 1. So 2. So that is 1 comma 2. And absolute value of 2 plus 1 equals 2 plus 1. So that is 3. So I have a dot at 2 comma 3. Okay, let's go ahead and graph this over here. So we're at -2, +3, -1, 2, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay, so it looks like we are getting a V shape. What is the name of the graph that makes a V shape? We should have said absolute value. Okay, next one. Let's go ahead and plug these in. So we have 2 to the -1st power. What is 2 to the -1st power? If you have a negative power, that's just saying the same thing as just 1 over 2 to the 1st power, which is just 1 over 2, or 0.5. Those both mean the same thing. So I have a dot at -1 comma 0.5. Okay, 2 to the 0. What is anything to the 0 power? It is 1. So my answer here is 1. So I have a dot at 0 comma 1. 2 to the 1st power is just 2. So y is 2. So I have a dot at 1 comma 2. Okay, so we're going to go to -1 up to 0.5. We're going to go to 0 and go up to 1. We're going to go 1 up to 2. Okay, so thinking about this a little bit more, we could keep doing different things. Do you think that it's ever gonna, like, just looking at the equation, is there a starting point? No, there's not. So it's gonna make an L shape. What is the name of an L shape equation? It is exponential. Cool. Okay, and then the very last one. Okay, so we have parentheses -2 to the 3rd plus 1. So -2 times -2 is +4 times -2 is -8 plus 1, which is -7. So I have a dot at -2 comma -7. Oops. -1 to the 3rd power plus 1 is -1 plus 1. So that is 0. So I have a dot at -1 comma 0. Next one. 0 cubed plus 1. That is 0 plus 1. So that's going to give me 1. So I have a dot at 0 comma 1. 1 to the 3rd power plus 1. So 1 to the 3rd power is 1 plus 1. So that gives me 2. So I have a dot at 1 comma 2. And then 2 to the 3rd power plus 1. That is 8 plus 1, which is 9. So I have a dot at 2 comma 9. Okay, let's go ahead and graph these. And then I want you to tell me what is this function's name. Okay, so we should have gotten a cubic function. So it looks like a little S. Okay, so that's everything for today. I'm going to have your homework up so you can take a look at that too.